and welcome into another great edition of BoardCheck. Jeremy the Impact York here, but you guys know that. Obviously, 3 great games have happened before, or in between our last episodes. So what are we going to talk about? All 3 periods you're going to see us talk about, in period number 3, you're going to hear us talk about game number 5. And you don't have to write this down. Trust me, I know which ones they are. In period number 2, you're going to hear us talk about game number 4. And game number 3 is what we're going to lead off with, which is exactly what we're going to do right now. Now, in game number 2, Pittsburgh came into the game up 1-0 in the total series. They were able to win this game 4-1. This game was in Pittsburgh, of course. Pittsburgh was just more physical on the boards and more physical out in neutral territory and just more aggressive when it got to the goal. They didn't do as much dump and chase. There's two strategies really that really work. There's the dump and chase, which is you get right past mid-ice. You dump it into the boards back behind, like if you were going to hit this jersey right here or hit this poster sign. You would dump it past the goalie, and then you try to run past the defense and chase it to flip it towards the net. Or there's you kind of, not really weasel your way, you kind of force your way across the blue line through the defense and just go in kind of the normal way. Those are the 2 most effective ways. They didn't really dump and chase so much. They would just get a 2-on-2 rush, a 2-on-1 rush, a 2-on-3 rush even sometimes, and we're able to split it and score the goals. Now, here's how the goals broke down. Everybody got excited because Pontus Aberg made it 1-0 Nashville early in the first. Of course, then Jake Gunsel, who has been the surprise of the entire playoffs. That guy is, I think he's got 13 goals or so now. He's a rookie, and he's leading the playoffs and leading everybody in general. That guy's fantastic, great dude. He made it 1-1 to close out the first. There were no goals in the third. Pittsburgh actually had some shots on goal for this time around, which was a novel concept compared to game 1 when they didn't have any whatsoever. No shots on goal in the second period. Moving into they had some, like I said, they had about 7 or 8, but nobody scored. Moving into the third, Jake Gunsel decided one's not enough. Let's add another. So his second of the game made it 2-1 early in the third. Then Pittsburgh just started pouring on at that point. Scott Wilson netted one, made it 3-1. And finally, Evgeny Malkin had to join the party at some point, made it 4-1, which was your total. Matt Murray had 37 total saves. Pekka Rinne had 21 before being pulled, where I think Juuse is how you say his name. Juuse Saros had 2 saves in relief. I believe Rinne got a little dinged up, and they wanted to make sure he was okay. Turns out he is, because he was back in goal for Game 3. But we'll get into Game 3 here in period number 2. But for right now, we're going to take a break. When we come back from the break, like I said, we're going to talk about Game number 3 in period number 2. Don't be too confused. We'll be back right here on BoardCheck. And we're back here for period number 2, where we're going to talk about game number 3 on BoardCheck. Jeremy the Impact York, welcome back. Now, game number 3 changed venues. We had the first 2 games were in Pittsburgh. That means games 3 and 4, the next 2 we're going to talk about, happened in Nashville, otherwise known as Smashville, or quite possibly the unofficial southern home of hockey. You think they're not a hockey town? Go look at some of the celebrations. Go look at some of the turnout, and in fact, just go to Nashville. Apparently, I have a couple friends that live up that way, and they said the streets have been taken over in a good way. It's been one big block party, and they're very excited for the way the team's playing. So, remember Smashville sometime next year. The Impact, and Impact Media, and BoardCheck, all the package. We're going to take a trip up there. Probably do something really special. Should be a lot of fun. We're nailing down details as we speak, or at least as I speak, I guess. Now, game number 3 was won by the Nashville Predators 5-1. You guys kind of seeing how this is going? Game 1 was 5-3. Game 2 was 4-1. Game 3 was 5-1. Although it's flipped to the other side now. This made the series 2-1. as Nashville pulled out the victory. Like I said, this was in Smashville, which is hopefully how I'm going to say this the rest of the time. The Predators are just so good at home. I think they've lost once. They're like 11-1 or 10-1, or it's something like that this season in the playoffs. I mean, they're just so hard to beat, and we'll get more into that in the next period. But once again, they were the more physical team. They were more aggressive on the boards. They were more aggressive in the neutral zone, more aggressive overall in goal. As back and forth as these games are, I've told everybody, sometimes if you don't know what the score is and you just watch these games, took the goals out, it looks like the most even game. But in some games, Pittsburgh shots are falling, and in some games, Nashville was. Well, this is one that Nashville did for sure. The readout of the games. Hey, guess what? Jake Guentzel got the first goal of the game. I mean, this kid is something else. That's why I said I think he's got 13 now. I believe this was his 13th goal. That made it 1-0 in the first. Now, going into the second period, Nashville had to respond, and boy, did they. Roman Josi, I've said that wrong, and I apologize, Roman Josi made it 1-1. Also in the second, Frederick Gougeot made it 2-1, and James Neal decided he wanted to join the party, made it 3-1. And moving into the third, Craig Smith made it 4-1, and Matthias Ekholm, Matthias is a great name, it just screams hockey. Matthias Ekholm made it 5-1, and that tallied out the score, and 5-1 was your total. Now, Matt Murray had 28 saves in a losing effort. That means he faced 33 shots. That is a lot. Actually, he had 32. One of these was the empty netter, I believe. Pekka Rinne had 27 saves. Fantastic to see Rinne back in goal. Seemed like he was doing a lot better. So that moved us on to game number 4, which we will talk about in period number 3 when we get back right here on BoardCheck. Stay tuned. Welcome back to BoardCheck. Jeremy the Impact York, of course, right here in the extensive man cave awesomeness that is apparently the renovations are almost done. When we are done, we'll show them to you guys for sure. But either way, we got the swag still up. Let's talk about game number 4 right here in period number 3. Try not to confuse too many people. Game number 4. This one took place in Smashville. Now, we'll have to say in game number 3, Nashville, by the way, in general, is killing it with these national anthems. I believe Martina McBride sang Game 3. Fantastic job by Miss McBride. The national anthem's a hard song, and I thought she did well. In game number 4, Dierks Bentley sang it. Now, a couple people had a problem with Dierks Bentley, but I bet none of those were Predator fans or from Nashville. So, get over it, guys. Dierks Bentley did a great job. It's a hard song. Everybody's singing it in their own tones, in their own keys, and in their own, specific ways catered to them. I thought he did a fantastic job. Shout out to Dierks Bentley for that. Keep pumping out some great hits as well, you and Martina. Now, Nashville was able to win this game 4-1. Like I said, it wasn't Smashville. Nashville won 4-1. That made the series 2-2. We are all tied up, and we have a series. After Game 3, I told everybody going into it, I said, if Nashville wins Game 3, we have a series. And I, throw a little basketball real quick. If the Cavaliers can win Game 3 tonight, then you got a series there. If they don't, that one's over. This one here is now a best-of-3 series where 2 games are going to be in Pittsburgh, one's going to be in Nashville. But before I get back into that, I want to tell you this game was a lot like Game 3. At the start, it was very physical and highly aggressive from the Nashville side. It seemed like Pittsburgh was still on their heels a little bit from the 5-1 loss in Game 3. But towards the end, it kind of evened up, even though it wasn't on the scoreboard. Now, the goals. In the first period, you had Cal Jarncroc for Nashville and Sidney Crosby, who just he did a great backhand on a Rinne didn't have much of a chance, but he did a great backhand flipper on on a breakaway, and you can't leave Crosby open like that. He's the best guy in the league. You get a 1-on-0 break, he's going to win that every time. But that made it 1-1 in the first period. Going into the second, that's when Nashville decided they want to put some distance between them and Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh can score just as fast as Nashville, or Nashville can score as fast as Pittsburgh, however you want to look at it. And these are two of the best goalies in the league. I would very much expect Marc-Andre Fleury to be a Vegas Golden Knight. And Vegas, if you're listening, hopefully you are, that would be a good guy to build around. Fantastic goalie. I can give you a few more ideas, but we have to sit around a table to talk about those. Otherwise, moving on. That's down the road. In the second period, you had Frederick Gaudreau who scored, along with Victor Arvidsson. I'm a big Victor fan. That made it 3-1 total going into the fourth. Philip Forsberg decided he wanted a almost full ice empty netter. It was a fantastic goal. That made it 4-1. Ultimately, that was your score. Matt Murray stopped 22 of 25 shots. Pekka Rinne stopped 23 of 24. And both goalies are now 2. And, well, I don't know. Saros might have got the loss for that one, but both goalies have 2 wins. This thing's going back to Pittsburgh. Game number 5 is tomorrow night. That would be Thursday. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Every game, 5, 6, and 7 of this series, if it goes to 7, all 3 of these games are on NBC, not NBC Sports Network, not USA, not True TV, not anything else that's under the NBC network umbrella, not Sci-Fi, not none of this stuff. Everything is on NBC from here on out, which is where it should have been to start with. That's my opinion. But tomorrow night, 8 p.m. NBC, puck drop is probably around 8:13 to 8:15. It should be a lot of fun. I know I'll be watching. I know people are coming over here to watch it. I hope you guys are going to watch too. And game number 6, because we've got to go at least 6 at this point. Game number 6 will be Sunday, 8 p.m. on NBC. That one will be back in Smashville. If game number 7 has to happen, it's going to happen after next week's episode of BoardCheck, because it's going to be 8 p.m. next Wednesday. So that's why I didn't really mention that one so much, but I wanted to let you guys know that is what will be coming up. So that's going to do it for me this week. Thanks for tuning in to BoardCheck. I'm Jeremy the Impact York. Remember, go watch hockey. We'll see you next week.
Let's dance.